I guess, for the lack of a better phrase, the meat and potatoes, sticking on a Thanksgiving topic, but talking with the Rangers and specifically Vitali Kravtsov, has been a little bit unlucky this season with injuries, and he's been a healthy scratch as of often. What do you think's happening with him?
Yeah, that's the mystery question. I think you're right. I mean, the injuries, you can't get around the injuries, right? He's a kid who came in feeling a lot of pressure, feeling really nervous, wanting to make an impression, a positive impression. Basically, I mean, we know the history, right? I mean, a quick recap of the history. This is a first round pick in 2018, number 9 overall. They kind of went off the board to get him. I mean, people were thinking they might get one, Oliver Wahlstrom or Noah Dobson or something like that. So they took this guy instead. Their scouts liked him, what he had done in the KHL and all that. So anyway, fast forward, he comes his first training camp. He assumed he was going to make the team. He had an injury actually at one point in that particular training camp, as I recall, and missed some time, played in the last preseason game, scored a goal in that game, figured that he had made the team. Turns out he had not made the team. He ended up getting sent down to Hartford, and that didn't sit well with him. He wasn't happy about it. He pouted a little bit. Long story short, he ended up going back to Russia. He was contractually allowed to do that. So, then the pandemic came and he stayed in Russia and all that kind of stuff. So then he came back last year and assumed again he was going to make the team, and ended up not, it was a new coach, and he ended up not making the team, got sent to Hartford again. Now, that was probably only going to be a very short-term thing at that time, but he didn't see it that way, and he skipped out and went home to Russia, and that was an issue. So with that on his resume, he came into camp thinking, he knew he was, maybe, a guy with a black mark against his name. And so he really was nervous and he wanted to make a positive impression. I don't know. He had an up and down camp. I didn't think he was particularly impressive in camp, but they were committed to giving him a shot this time. So opening night, like his first or second shift in the game, he gets crunched into the boards. His head goes into the boards. Victor Hedman from Tampa Bay pushes his head into the boards. They won't say the C word, but I'm assuming it was a concussion that he had, kept him out for 4 games. Comes back, plays a game or two, has some other injury, misses a game, comes back, and then in Dallas, he hits his head on the boards again, and misses another 4 games, and so he'd missed more games than he'd played at that point. And then he came back, and it seemed like he was starting to play okay, good, actually. They put him on the second line with Artemi Panarin and Vincent Trocheck, and that seemed to be working well. And then he actually had his best game in that 8-2 win the Rangers had in Detroit against the Red Wings. He had an assist in that game, his first point of the season. And then, he has a tooth problem that knocks him out, and all of a sudden he can't play in the next game against Nashville, and he can't play in the next game against Arizona. He has oral surgery, so it's not like it wasn't a hockey thing. But he's been healthy now. He came back to practice. He came back to practice before the road trip. He went on the road trip, didn't play in any of the games on the road trip. So he's now at six games in a row out of the lineup. The first 2 were injury related. We believe the last 4 he's been a healthy scratch. And he's got to wait his turn, I guess, to get back in the lineup. And I don't know any more else to tell you. That's just mapping out the facts. Now, if you ask me what's going on, I'd say that maybe the coach, Gerard Gallant, maybe he doesn't have as much trust in him as perhaps he needs to. I don't know. He's looking for the right time. I mean, I would have thought that putting him in after that Seattle game might have been the way to go, but then he didn't. And then, then they played San Jose and they won that game. So I guess he didn't want to change the lineup after having won a game. And then they played against LA and they won that game. And I guess he didn't want to change the lineup after having won a game. And then they lose in Anaheim. And so we'll see now. As you and I speak, it's Black Friday, and the Rangers have a game Saturday afternoon against Edmonton. We'll see if Coach Gerard Gallant will put him in the lineup, coming off a loss. And that's the only thing I got for you. I don't know. As far as I know, he's healthy. I mean, I've seen him at practice. He's been at practice for like a week and a half now, and he looks fine.